Hello and welcome to QUIZZY Monday. What a game we just had in University Challenge. If people tell you that quizzing isn't a sport, tell them to watch that episode and see the quizzing equivalent of a last-minute headed goal by the goalie who's rushed up to try and put it in the net at a corner. Absolutely fantastic game there. Great fight back from St Andrews, who at times looked like they were out of it. But I shouldn't really kind of prefigure our discussion. I've got two people to come on and discuss tonight's quizzing with me, and they are Ronny Jackson and Dave Bill. So I'm going to bring them onto the stream right now. Hello, Ronny. Hello, Dave.
Hey, folks.
Can
I just say that the intro music is a banger? I hadn't heard it before now. I'm glad I have.
Well, there you go. Available in all good record shops and some rubbish ones. So just for people who haven't joined us before, you could put comments in the chat and we'll be able to respond to them. Chestnut Bloke has said, evening all. In fact, put it on. There we go. Evening all. I've just finished watching University Challenge. It was such a close match. It was. It couldn't have been any closer. Fantastic. Really good, yeah. And Grace, one of our regulars, says, lovely week as always. How is it I just noticed the intro upgrade? Because you've been a little bit slack in joining us, Grace. But no, joke. I hope you enjoyed your Doctor Who puzzle last week, and it's good to have you back. It's great to have Dave back. Dave's been with us before. A forthcoming star of our latest Quiz Omnium. You'll have to wait to see that. We recorded at the weekend, and it was a cracker. Ronny, I believe this is your debut.
I turned up here once before on behalf of the OQL just to do some Team of the Week stuff, but no, this is the first time I'm here on Mondays talking about the quizzing and such like, and whatever nonsense we get into.
Well, guys, what did you make of... let's start with University Challenge. I mean, we know it was a cracking match, but Ronny, you're kind of chuckling away there. What did you think?
It was dope. I kind of thought St Andrews would be out of it because I think they had a couple of unfortunate early negs, and against any Oxbridge team who is going to practice their hearts out. I kind of thought that's not quite the end of the game for them, but it was always going to be a massive uphill struggle. But yeah, fair play to them. But it turns out if you have a crab as a mascot, yeah, the world is your oyster. Not meaning to make the seafood jokes there. I just wanted to shout at the crabs, but hey, let's take it as it goes.
Well, we'll take the puns nice and early. I don't know if one of you's got something else on in the background. I can hear something going on. But anyway, okay, might just be a little bit of feedback. Yeah, Dave, what did you make of it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, as Ronny said, I think at one point St Andrews were about 70 behind. It's like, well, yeah. 9 times out of 10 you don't come back from that, and they've dug really deep. It's been absolutely tremendous. Yeah. Really, really good showing.
It was a superb performance. They were a long way behind at one point, and then got it back from 110 to 60, and then 110 to 105, and then Emmanuel pulled away again. It was really kind of nip and tuck and came down to that last bonus. We got a question here from Zachary. I don't know how any of you feel, but I like the more inclusive topics. LGBT plus content tonight. Both teams look very disgusted at astrology questions, which we'll perhaps get onto in a second. But yeah, there was a bit of comment about that. RuPaul's Drag Race comes up. Goes to show how down with the kids University Challenge has become.
You think you'd see on University Challenge? I'm fairly sure RuPaul's Drag Race would be up there. You know what I mean?
I feel older than I ever have hearing people have no idea about Mae West, and even going and saying I'm sure this is Joan Collins was just Mae West guys.
I made a note of the fact that Joan Collins will be now 128 years old. If that was the answer, unlucky, Joan Collins would have been 120 years old.
That would have been a hell of a deep cut for RuPaul's Drag Race, so I'll give him credit for that.
Dave, can we your mic? Could we get your mic a bit nearer your mouth? You're a little bit quiet. And there's some noise going on somewhere. But,
I mean, as far as the astrology questions go, they're a bit it was a bit wishy-washy, but it's a bit of a wordplay one. It's kind of felt a bit weak in comparison. But they took 3 out of 3, and that's the least you could do with relatively easy bonus set. I'm hoping I'm not dissing anybody who's watching, but
the consolation, remove the middle letter here. I think was probably the easiest trio of the night, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's a sort of trio you want when you're chasing the game, or when the game's in doubt, isn't it? You want something where you can blitz through them.
One of the things I noticed, with Malcolm came up with some great wrong answers. You know what I mean? It's like come up with Primoz Roglic instead of
that hurts.
It's
I said Primoz Roglic as well because I was only sort of half listening to that and thought Slovenian is I'm forgetting the now 2-time Tour de France champion. Shame on me. The man described as the new cannibal by Eddie Merckx himself. So 10 lashes for me, I think. I struggled to pick out any really great buzzers, but I was amused. I think it was the second one in the Benedict Cumberbatch one that immediately started out with, he played the University Challenge team captain. A little inside baseball was kind of cute, and I don't normally do the I'd have gone in early, but I felt fairly confident it was only ever going to be about him after I think 2 clues. But that's only connected.
I think I was Doctor Strange, maybe.
I mean, that really was University Challenge kind of eating itself a little bit there with its self-referential. But if it's good enough for any Connect, it's good enough for University Challenge. There was another comment about the pre-decimal currency question.
Oh, what was it? Threepence and penny, threepence and halfpenny?
Yeah.
Fortune, which is a third of a shilling.
I shamefully thought a threepenny bit was 3 pence. It's just, I mean, I wasn't alive when decimalisation came in, so that's my excuse for everything.
I don't think any of us were, and I think I do think there is a question, perhaps, of are these questions that should be retired because actually they have no kind of relevance to the world now, and they're just kind of
it's kind of a bit. There's a sort of an ephemeral nature to it. Like old adverts are one I see attributed to this because they're very much a thing that you can only know if you were alive to see them, and they're not big enough to have. They're not big enough to have persisted, like say the Hovis advert.
Ronny, are you pulling the before my time card?
I mean, I performed it. I pulled it just about the decimalisation. I mean, hey, if I'm going to pull that card, I'm going to slam that card down and make everyone feel old.
I think there are a few that would stand the test of time. The actual catchphrases. If you do those, the double diamond working wonders sort of thing.
Something like the go to work on an egg campaign from whenever the hell that was. Like, I mean, I think that might have been before I was born, and I still know it because it's being referenced a lot. But a question about a 1970s ad campaign that hasn't made it is that ephemeral. I think unless you're going to go into maybe the history of decimalisation, it might be a bit much for 20-somethings teens to really get into. Now I'm doing the crotchety old man talking about younger people thing, so I'm hitting both barrels here.
Well, yeah, why not? I particularly, I mean, there are a lot of things I liked. I like the fact there was musical theatre in it. I thought that was great, but I'm a fan of musical theatre.
There's no way that they're going to broadcast anything of the Book of Mormon. I would have loved it. Isn't the Book of Mormon? It really isn't.
I mean, Hadestown was really nice to kind of bring in something really quite contemporary. That was very good.
You had what was it? Oliver the Starter, the Music Man, Hadestown. What was the fourth one?
Producers.
Yeah, so that's quite a nice spread.
Yeah,
they really are pushing the boat out with Springtime for Hitler, aren't they? But,
yeah. If you're going to include the producers, you've got to nail it down. Yeah, exactly, Grace. Musical theatre just it's just a nice subject to come up, and I'm taking time away from Gareth of the foremost musical theatre appreciation that I know. So,
well, I'll fess up to saying I'm going to London on Saturday, taking my daughter to see Hairspray.
Oh, fantastic!
How many dad points am I getting for
that? you deserve to get a lot. We have tickets. We're digressing, but we have tickets to see this, which have been changed 3 times due to the pandemic. So 4th time lucky.
Hairspray set in Baltimore. There's your quiz fact, people.
Indeed. I liked, there was one piece of team play that I really liked, and it's when they were trying, Emmanuel, I think it was, trying to pull out Captain Phillips.
Captain Tom.
Yes. Yeah.
But
There was the fact that everybody's talking, and I think on both teams, but certainly in that question, that everybody talked and everybody got some feedback into it. It feels great to, even if you don't get the answer, to be the one that puts the ball up for somebody else to spat the answer down.
The vision it creates of him walking around his garden, raising 38 million quid and fighting off Somali pirates.
Yeah.
What can the guy do?
He's a real Renaissance man.
Yeah, man of many talents, and he also stuck it to Hitler. So
yeah,
that was great. But I really liked that thing, and it's a very quiz thing about how to recall things. Is sometimes just kind of talking and throwing things out and bouncing things around with a team. You know, is it Captain Tom? No, it's not Captain Tom. That's a bit of word association. Is it Captain this? And somehow somebody comes up with Phillips, who previously had no idea, and it was really good.
It's really different as well. It's all good doing that in a pub quiz when you've got a couple of pints down your neck, just throwing out ideas. It's completely different when you're in front of like a couple of million people on live television, not live television, of course, but on TV.
We had a moment. We had a moment at Buzzer Quiz a couple of years back where I remember the question included something about a historical figure named Crumb, and with no other knowledge, I put down Victor Crumb, the Bulgarian player in Harry Potter, that somebody then took on to mean, oh yes, it's the Byzantine Emperor Basil the Bulgar Slayer. So highbrow, lowbrow. You've got to love the balance.
Indeed, that was great. I was just looking to see. Another point, and perhaps it's one to perhaps talk about when we've got teams on or real University Challenge kind of devotees, but I get really annoyed about the fact that Paxman hurries teams up at the death, but lets them consult forever earlier on in the quiz.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing we always say about you need to make sure QMs have as little leeway about timing as possible in the sort of quiz that we routinely do. Like Paxman Paxman's Paxman. Are you going to tell? So yeah, go on, Dave.
Come on.
God. I'm talking too much. Let's get to the starter, shall we?
I mean, maybe we can. We've got Thomas de Bock is going to be popping in.
Oh no, not Tom.
So we can probably get from kind of the horse's mouth. I've just sent him the link if you're watching, Thomas. I'll add you. Hello, Thomas. So, now, for people who don't know Thomas, we had him on previously. Thomas, I think you've been on University Challenge. You've also been on Only Connect, but you run a podcast, don't you, Thomas?
Do I?
Do you? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
If you're thinking of, I got
possibly the UK Quiz Bowl Twitter account. I know Tom has done that.
I used to have the keys to that. I haven't run it in ages. But there is a Quizzy Mondays podcast which exists and which doesn't involve me. But I am happy to talk about whatever. Yes.
Well, okay, so brilliant. So I've completely got the wrong end of the stick. So what we were just talking about there, we were talking about a fantastic episode of UC tonight. Absolutely brilliant. So incredibly tight, going down to the last kind of set of questions. What was bothering me, and I'll get your opinion on, is Paxo hurrying teams up towards the end, but allowing them to consult for ages previously. I know it's always kind of happened, but what's your feeling on that?
I think it's right. So for one thing, I don't think it's happening very much at all anymore. I've noticed in the last couple of seasons he's kind of stopped doing it as much as he did in the past. Certainly when I was practicing for my own series, I would notice in older series that he would really speed up as the game went on, and I think honestly that was more to make good TV, because it then hinged more on how many you could get on a roll in the more fast-paced bit of the game at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I think
in terms of making it a fair quiz, that's a different issue.
it certainly adds to the tension, doesn't it? It certainly adds to the excitement, as well as I don't know. Is it still Roger Tilling? That kind of more urgent, Emmanuel Wraith or whatever, kind of gets more and more kind of into it.
Well, Roger Tilling is one of the loveliest men involved in TV quizzing. I will keep saying this. That's
yeah.
I went and watched Huddersfield when they were on. I was in the audience, and I noticed he's unfathomably tall as well.
Oh, he's absolutely. He is one of the tallest people I've met. It's incredible.
Roger Tilling, he's tall and he's got a good voice. So what more do you want?
He's quite slim, so he has to fit all that voice somewhere.
Him and Richard Osman, is that a fight?
There's a good comment coming in from Michael McPartland here. Same in every sport, though. You can waste as much time as you want in the first half of the football match, and you do tend to get called out on it towards the end. Although there are ways of there are ways of wasting time in football that are legal. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is one of those things. We were commenting on there's some great captaincy, Thomas, and I don't know what kind of leapt out to you in today's match.
Well, I didn't really see much of it, to be honest. I was trying to work on some other stuff at the same time, but I did notice that in terms of involving all the other team members, both captains were doing a pretty good job of that, which is really something that you want to see in a team on University Challenge, because if you're just turning to the one person and ignoring half of your team, then you're missing out on some potentially good and perhaps surprisingly correct answers from your other teammates, even if it's not there.
If I was the captain, I assume, perhaps wrongly, that the captain on a UC team is likely to be the best player. I might be wrong. It might be from the big mouth.
There was something Brandon from obviously the Imperial team actually talked about this. I can't remember the thought process behind Caleb being the captain, but he very much did not want to himself be the captain, because the difficulty there is hearing answers from other people and going, do I overrule them? Thinking, if I've got a different answer, do I overrule them and look like a dick if I get it wrong as well? And obviously the setup they work, because spoiler alert, they won.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
exactly. If it's not the best player, if the captain's not the best player, I would always put the best player furthest away. Yeah, so that way you're having to involve people.
Yeah, well, I've seen the quote-unquote strongest player on teams, because it varies game to game a lot of the time. On basically all 4 seats, it really depends on how the team dynamic is working. The teams at this point, remember, before the auditions and before the time they get on, ideally have been practicing for weeks and weeks and have worked out what works best for them, who they think is a better captain, which order they work best when they're conferring. And honestly, yes, it is more than just being the best player that goes into being a captain. It's a matter of being able to listen to your team. Sometimes you just want someone who'll be able to immediately understand what the other players are saying, so they can immediately say the correct answer if they're pressed for time, for instance.
I think I did read something from Holly Parkinson, who I think was on Durham. She was the captain. I may be misattributing the comments. My apologies if I do, Holly, but she said much the same thing. And a good captain also has to be a diplomat about it, particularly if you get 2 people giving different answers. Pick something. Who do you pick who's right, and how do you do it diplomatically, etc., etc.
Is there something about also agreeing as a team that actually you haven't necessarily got time for some of the social niceties? So whereas in a pub quiz you might hear somebody suggest a clearly wrong answer, and you go, it's a good suggestion, but maybe not. But in University Challenge, you don't have the time. You just have to go, no, it's not that. I'm going with this. And perhaps as a team, as long as you agree that in advance, that nobody's going to take umbrage about the captain going, no. What do you think? Thomas, do you think teams have that kind of discussion?
I think they do. It depends on the team, really. So, some teams will just decide a captain within 5 minutes because only one person wants to be captain, for instance. But I think in some teams that must be part of the discussion, surely. I can't say that from my own personal experience. I think the captain in all the cases I was on was just the person with the most points in the practice quiz.
We've got a question here in the chat, and Dave Miller's one of our foremost sports quizzes. I'm going to put you on the spot, Dave. How is that Polish tennis player pronounced, by the way?
Iga Swiatek, was what I was saying, but I might not be any better than Paxo.
The one I've heard is like Spiontek, but again, that's somebody else's.
Yeah, I can spell it.
I can spell it, no problem.
I've just got the name in front of me. I can pronounce some Polish, and I believe that's Świątek.
Well, that's it. You heard it here first, people. That's the scoop. That is how it's pronounced. Until that particular player comes on Quizzy Monday and tells us otherwise.
There you go. Come on, we're always looking for people.
The answer was she's Polish, and I got that.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier about the brilliant way that Emmanuel worked Captain Phillips, and the kind of just the talking got him there. There was one where it didn't work, and I felt kind of, it was like, well, you're so close. It was the Uzo Aduba one, where it's like, you're in the ballpark, you know exactly who it is. And she was doing it. She's crazy eyes. She's this. She's and she didn't quite get there. But the one thing I took away from that is early last season, there was a lot of criticism about diversity in UC and in the question setting. And I think tonight, with both ethnicity and LGBT, there was diversity there. And I think, again, we have to recognise good work when we see it. I thought the questions were great tonight.
Going back to the tennis player, I don't think at any point through the question did they mention the gender of the players.
No.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of a change in the inclusivity of the questioning. It's the person who stands and falls on their merits, not necessarily defined by their gender, which is great. And it's nice because then it forces people, if they do jump to a male player, to hopefully examine themselves. I mean, the question about the Brazilian player who's the all-time leading scorer at the World Cup has tripped. I mean, how many people has that tripped up in our time?
Quite a few.
Exactly.
Another one I liked was the map question with the equator. Now, as somebody who has played, has got an app on my phone which has got kind of country outlines. When it was, I started doubting myself, but it was like, oh, that's Colombia, that's Gabon, whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you've now got to be doing if you want to be a top level quizzer, isn't it? It's like knowing the outlines of countries. If you can narrow it down if you know it's near the equator, but you've got to be doing those sorts of things.
If the quiz you're doing has a visual component, that is going to just be more and more of the curriculum, I think. On that note, I think that first picture round made the unusual decision of making the bonus bits much easier than the starter, I noticed. Because why would you ask about fucking Sao Tome and Principe in the first round of University Challenge based on just the outline?
And yet they got it, hey.
And that's the main thing, is they ask for a 4-word answer. So you're either going Sao Tome and Principe or Federated States of Micronesia, but it's probably more.
I'll put my hands up for St. Kitts and Nevis because it's islands, why not? I am spectacularly bad at basically any form of picture quiz, so please don't let it become a thing.
It should be a thing because I like picture quizzes, but and as we found out at the weekend, written quizzes not so good at. But there you go.
At least you were bothered to go and do it.
I did. Perhaps I shouldn't. Anyway, speaking as the world's 222nd best player, we'll move on. Is there anything else, Thomas, that took your eye?
On University Challenge, really, just how close the game was. Emmanuel Cambridge seemed to have the edge for most of it, and I think it was, to be fair, the entire team had some clutch buzzers towards the end, but really for most of the game it was Anya McMenamin who was keeping the buzzers coming in just enough to get them close enough to come back. And I think she should get quite a lot of credit.
We all look on social media, and the comments on what's her buzzer stance, really.
Sometimes you got it. Sometimes you got
it.
Every player has their own stance. I mean, for instance, I remember Freddie Leo being a proponent of the full body buzz. Like this.
Oh god, he was explosive, as I recall.
Yeah, and you've got to find the technique that works for you. I mean,
exactly.
Is it finger down? Is it pad of the finger? Is it your thumb? You've got to find the way that allows you to react the quickest.
No, it's NBA dunk contest, windmill slam all day.
And remember, the University Challenge buzzers are very, very weird to press because it takes quite a lot of effort, but there's a lot of resistance to the buzzers.
Oh, trade secrets! Are you allowed to tell us this?
Yeah, those buzzers have actual buzzers. Yes.
Okay. Are they definitely? And they are above one another, right? Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So really, as well as preparing your quiz knowledge, you've got to be working those biceps to be kind of getting that fun.
Climb that ladder, get up to the top tier, all that jazz.
Michael is saying more picture quizzes and high-level quizzes. Picture recognition is an important part of knowledge. This is a kind of a Marmite thing, isn't it? People either love or hate.
This is Michael, who, when we ran Redfest, won the picture round 2 years running. So
unless it's somebody, because I do have, they referenced it in the episode, face binders, prosopagnosia, and I find picture rounds unbelievably difficult just because of that. I can so rarely recognise people unless they've got something distinctive about them.
I'm worst at it's that guy at CSI Miami. Not a clue, isn't it?
Yep. Well, that's the team thing. He's the guy at CSI Miami, and somebody will be there to tell you who it is, and it's yes, not Horatio Crane. My God.
Well, we need to move on. So we'll briefly take a interlude while I tell you what's been going on All Things Quiz this week. So obviously this is Quizzy Monday, but I can announce the winner of Quizzer of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. And the winner of Quizzer of the Week is Frankie Fanco, Mastermind finalist from last year. Frankie got her first ever competitive full house this week. So Frankie was, let me put it this way, the runaway winner of this vote. She's a very popular woman, very great player, and she came in first, so that was good. Second was Tom Speller, a quizzer from, plays in Quiz League of London. I think he actually lives outside of London now.
He's a man of Kent, unfortunately me as well.
So he made his first ever Mimi as well final. So he got voted for that. Gregory Peterson, I think, was another full house. I think Gregory might be American, but I might be wrong.
Greg's an American. He does play in OQO UK on, I think, now Division 1 side. I think they've just gone up. And just to say about Tom as well, for considering first time at that high level, he acquitted himself wonderfully. I cried for him on a question about Bianca Andreescu because it felt very much in his wheelhouse and he was clearly there. Mm-hmm. And if he'd had someone to talk to, it would have jarred loose, but the vagaries of individual quiz, so my heart went out to him. But considering he was going up against Victoria Gross, he looked comfortable in the setting, and that was great stuff.
I mean, he was in the final of Rainham Online Quiz League 1 last year. In the Phil Small. So he's got form at that level, but well done.
So those were the winners. So well done to Frankie. Quiz Team of the Week. The winners were Ask Me Anything, who are sitting on top of the Shard in Summer Friendly League in London. So congratulations to them. Second was Jukeboxers from last week's Only Connect. Third was Hertford College. I think it's Hertford Oxford. From last week's University Challenge. So congratulations to all three of those.
Before we move on, guys, can I just say something about the Quiz of the Week? I was voted Quiz of the Week last week.
He's just here to make sure we all know it as well.
Completely bogusly, because whilst I am the de facto captain of the Jeff Morton fan club, basically, it was more a Ryder Cup-esque thing for me last year. I was there in spirit. I put a team together that I'm not good enough to get into. So, yeah, very much Phil Small, who's the brains behind it all for that season. So, I mean, for me, it was going to first.
Well, I mean, this is democracy for you, Dave. Sometimes the voters get it completely right, like they did with Frankie, and sometimes they go, no. I mean, I think your team won Division 1 of OQL. You pick the right players. You lead them well, and people responded by voting for you. So, well done for last week. Moving on.
Manager of the Month is an award as well. Let's be fair to you.
It is. We have our What is the Question competition. So every Sunday we release an answer on Facebook and Twitter. People send us questions, again on Facebook and Twitter, and we put them to a vote. This week the answer is silver, and we are launching the vote now. So we got over 30 questions in. And if you want to vote for your favourite question, tinyurl.com/WITQ silver. At the moment, there are a bunch of groups. The winner of each group will go into a vote on Wednesday, I think. And then you'll be able to vote for the winner. So don't forget to take part in that one.
I won't say what I'm voting for, but I am, because I don't want to bias it, but there's some good ones in there.
You just got to dive in and vote for them. This is a reminder that we put out a video about new sports at the Olympics. We've also put out in the last week, before the World Quizzing Championships, previews, including an interview with the eventual winner, Ronny Swiggers, and congratulations to Ronny for a fantastic performance. We've got more videos coming this week about the World Quizzing Championships, so look out for them. I think that is it. So that's back on with the schedule, and we move to Only Connect. And talking about the World Quizzing Championships, somebody who did very, very well in the World Quizzing Championships was a member of the golfers, Evan Lynch. Had a fantastic performance. Again, we did a preview interview with him. Thought he might be a shooting star. He came from around about 30th last year to just outside the top 10 this year, and even making any progress in that quality of field is quite impressive. So it was probably no surprise to see him do phenomenally well on Only Connect tonight.
World class. I mean, he's the next generation of Kevin Ashman, Pat Gibson. I have no qualms in saying that in years to come he'll be a world quiz champion. He's that level.
I think we're lucky to have the Dowd and Evan to be the Kevin and Pat of the younger generation. It's going to be great. But I'll see. While that is very much true about Evan, let's be real. Francis and George are not bad quizzes themselves either. And the golfers, I think they got slightly bad luck on the questions in the first round, particularly. Like I get the feeling the Roman Emperors one, they would have absolutely slammed home. Maybe made 5, but definitely for 3.
Well, I got that for 3, and I'm not exactly a highbrow.
Dave, the classicist Bill. It's the unfortunate thing of seeing the. I mean, when I played Tom's team, they got a question on skulls that I think they took 3, maybe 4, and I was screaming at them because I thought I had it at 1, and I was just you can't see me weeping, but my God, I was crying at it.
I mean, they are phenomenal players. They've all been on University Challenge, haven't they, Thomas?
Only Evan has.
Really? Oh, I'm surprised. I would have thought the others would have been.
No, and that is not for a lack of trying on George and Francis' part. George has not been on.
They're all obviously very well-established Quiz Bowl people.
Absolutely. We are on the outgoing committee of UK Quiz Bowl, and I believe Francis is still on it this coming year. So these are all people who are still definitely plugged into the circuit and are, if not actively taking part as competitors.
You know the team really well. Let's just ask a quick question. How much golf have they played? Come on.
Enough to be a golfer.
I mean, we all know, we've all been on, Only Connect, and we know that team names are pretty much
usually tenuous at best.
decided.
Hey, speak for yourself, okay? We were the first ones to get lowercase letters in our name, and that is a fact I'm going to hammer home whenever I can.
I have it on good authority that at most 2 of the fire eaters enjoy spicy food, so...
I mean, I think, maybe it's mini golf, maybe it's golf on their phone, maybe they just like watching. I don't know. I mean, before we crack on, just Alex McMillan, who writes questions for a number of quizzes, including Only Connect, has said, we're talking about the diversity thing. Something more and more quizzes I'm working on now is being conscious of including better diversity in their questions. Hopefully we're seeing these changes pay off now. And I think the greater the diversity, I think we'll start to see different winners. We'll start to see a different profile of team perhaps winning University Challenge, Only Connect, even players winning Mastermind when there's greater diversity. That's my thoughts. I don't know what you think.
Sorry, go on, Tom.
No, I was just going to say I totally agree with Alex. They make a great point about improving that representation can sometimes take a while. There's a lot of inertia to shift, but certainly I've been noticing a lot more representation in terms of the question content. And if that's not currently translating into more representation in terms of the contestants, you can only hope that it's going to eventually, at the very least, contribute towards that. There's a lot more to do on that front, but that's if you can make at the very least that effort, then you should. Yeah,
fantastic. Talking of sort of diversity, unfortunately, we had some more trolls out on Twitter tonight, which we tried to kind of slap down, but it's really unfortunate that when you do get diversity on a show in terms of contestants, that the small-minded come out. And all I would say is that if there is anybody watching this who is transphobic, homophobic, etc., go away, we don't want you.
Exactly.
So, that's what we're saying. We will continue to call you out, and we will continue to report people.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, if you're clever enough to watch Ronny smart enough to know that.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Sorry, Ronnie's got a squeaky chair, so I didn't catch that, Dave.
Sorry, folks.
If you're smart enough to watch Ronny Connect and watch University Challenge, you're smart enough to know better.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the line we take.
If I said the things I wanted to, this video would get taken down instantly, so I won't.
But I think, to be fair, I think the people who watch this show probably aren't the people who are sitting there going fanar, making very lame jokes on Twitter. But, I think we as a community have to stand up for our fellow quizzers and kind of challenge that stuff. So there wasn't a huge amount tonight, but there was still stuff. Let's move on to something a little bit more entertaining then. What questions did we like on Only Connect tonight?
I really liked the connection maps question.
Yes.
It was very simple, but I don't know, the pieces didn't come together until I saw Game of Thrones, and then everything.
That was no
good. Yeah, I think. What do we have? Bergerac, Dad's Army, EastEnders, Game of Thrones. My first thought was, they're animated, and then it was like, and it's maps.
I can't remember ever seeing the intro for Bergerac, but Dad's Army, EastEnders, Game of Thrones. They're all very obviously, they have maps as a massive thing at the intros, and yet it's so hard to grasp. It's beautiful questioning.
Indeed. Just Grace is chipping in. Love to see diversity quizzes. Hope to see some neurodivergent. Might be neurodivergent, I think. Or more quizzes with disabilities one day, so people like me could see themselves in quiz. Absolutely, Grace. Quizzes for everybody. There shouldn't be barriers. We need to try and take those barriers down where we can see them. Michael, on the other hand, as a Bergerac fan, says more questions on Bergerac. So we'll take down those Bergerac barriers.
Bureau d'étranger.
Gerard chips in. Now, I learned something tonight. Vampire. can be beaten with abacuses.
I
mean, who knew? Who knew?
Sorry, Tom, go on.
I was going to say that was an excellent reference to what I can only assume is Count Von Count.
Something I thought might have come up in the Mystic Vows one is vampires historically can be beaten by scattering grains of rice, just grains of rice all over the floor, because they have, I guess, what you might call that sort of obsessive compulsive nature to have to sit there and count them all and pick them all up and put them away. And then while you're doing that, you run the other way or you stick them in the heart. But don't treat people with OCD like that these days, Cal. We're not all vampires. Just put it out there.
The ones I liked the idioms, wisers, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really like that one. I like the one that ended XY.
Yes.
Bit of low round at the stage event. But I think my favourite spot of the whole thing all night was Sean's. Sean's in the wall. Sean's in the wall. Shout out to my good buddy Mr. Sean Woggs. I tell you now though, the funniest thing about it is Sean Williamson. Sean Williamson, we all know Sean. Sean's a great quizzer. Sean was still referred to as Barry from EastEnders. Yeah. Bombshell, we'll let him guess. When did Sean finish playing Barry in EastEnders? Anybody?
It was a long time ago, wasn't it? Was it 20 years?
2004, yeah. 17 years. He's not
to be fair, though, he was in extras and he was Barry from EastEnders there, so maybe that's what I'm going to say. That's my excuse.
But
here's a very good quizzer. He's written a book, which is on my shelf behind me. We also interviewed him in the very early days of this channel, so look out for the videos of that if you want to see how he approaches quizzing. He's an intelligent guy. He's a fun, entertaining guy, but he's also serious about his quiz. So he will be really, really chuffed that he has come up on Only Connect.
The lockdown vowels were particularly good as well.
Yes. Toilet roll.
That was a fun one.
Doing P with Joe Wicks.
As someone who reluctantly enjoys all the words ones, I quite liked the M is bigger than L, O is bigger than E.
Yeah, that was a very nice, and again, nice spot by Evan.
A 0 in the Dave Bill camp for that one.
Yeah.
And the sport lens was weird as well.
I think what impressed me about that more or less one is very often there's this view that if you're really good at kind of quiz bowl or straight quizzing, that the more lateral thinking stuff is kind of not your bag. And Evan absolutely blew that out of the water, because that was an absolute lateral thinking thing. It was superb.
I've come around to the sorry, Tom. I've come around to the lateral thinking Mystic Vows ones as well. The ones I do remember I think it was buildings with the shape changed, and I like that just on the basis of having to do extra steps on top of it, rather than just the straight vows. I mean, on that subject as well, I feel for the wildlife is because as Tom may have said on Twitter, going up against the notorious buzzer quizzers on a buzzer race was just always going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, in the first 3 quarters of the game, I thought they really acquitted themselves very well, and I think they've got a very good chance of making it quite far in the rapid round.
I think they struggled in the first round and then sort of picked up from there, didn't they?
They did it. They 10 their wall no problem, as I recall, and because Victoria said they did the 10s on the wall for both teams in the same amount of time. It's like this is clearly a decent team. They took points off the others, and
they weren't tough. But what I did think was there was very good tactical play on the walls. They were both very well organised teams, talking through what they were doing and kind of not sometimes teams just start pressing higgledy-piggledy and people go off into their own little world. Ronny, you're desperate to get in.
Yeah, I have a real bugbear on the walls. It's when a team, even when they get down to the last 2 groups, they think they've got a good group and then ignore it and go to other things that could be. It's like, no, you think you've got a good 4, put that 4 in. Come on, don't mess me around. And I saw the golfers do it and made a note to just meant DM one of them on Twitter and shout at them for it. I will not do this.
I do think it is genuinely a good strategy to wait a bit longer, because if you have one of the groups but not the other, it buys you more time to work out what that last connection is.
Yeah, it does, because there's nothing quite as bad as finishing the wall but not quite understanding what one of the connections is. And then when you're going through the Victoria going, so what is this, and this? You're mentally trying to work out that final set. It is unpleasant. If you've got 15, 20 seconds left, use it, I would say.
And the other thing is, in the bad old days when we were on, it was a variable time on the missing vowels, not like it is nowadays. So if you were 10 points in front, you're going to go
Let's just go through that again. So just
have two groups just sat there in front of you, and you're going to watch the clock go and run the clock down, because you know you're going to get fewer missing vowels.
Yeah, you did that. We did that. It was a good tactic. If you were leading the game, you talking about what we're going back to what we were saying earlier, talking about ways of wasting time, that are legitimate. That wall score was a good tactic, and then they stopped.
I'll get these two talking about the good old days. We never got that luxury, okay? We had to deal with it.
BBC4, what's that?
You don't even know you're born. I think you two were both in the Greek letter eras as well, weren't you? Yeah, unbelievable. Oh.
Remember we came back for the Champion of Champions game. That was the crossover between Greek letters and hieroglyphs. What the bloody hell are they?
I will also say, I'll just point it out. The team that said Horned Viper lost.
Well, as they should. It is Horned, as we all know.
Well done,
there was a comment earlier about Victoria made a comment about bronze medals, and I just wanted to scream at her. Series 10 still doesn't have a bronze medal match. Come on, bring it on. Jack Whaley Cohen, Jenny Heap. We want that match. Anyway, that's just me. I think the rest of the world is trying for it as well. No, I mean it was a very strong performance. 27 points by any stretch of imagination is a very very good performance.
Yeah.
So I think we have to consider golfers, and we've seen some very good teams so far this series. Absolutely. But I think we have to consider the golfers as tips for the title. Very very.
They didn't get the pick of their questions in the first round either, so it was just...
Yeah.
The young teams so far this series have just been absolutely. Brilliant.
Animal lovers were excellent as well.
Animal lovers were excellent. I have a little bit of inside knowledge of some of the coming games, and there are some more very good young teams still to play. So honestly, this is shaping up to be an amazing series, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it unfold.
Yeah, well, we definitely are. I mean, it's just been absolutely brilliant since QUIZZY Monday came back. It's just kind of elevated the week for me. It starts it off on the right foot, and animal lovers were superb. Jukeboxers, brilliant comeback victory last week. Golfers, a very convincing victory, but in a different way. I mean, it's just been great when these teams start playing each other. Wow.
That's the thing that Victoria said last week about the jukeboxes. Oh, you're one of those teams, are you? Absolutely annihilation on the vowels, but
I think the ironic thing really is that the golfers scored so many points, and normally you avoid that.
But did they hit par?
I'm so happy with myself, and everyone hates it. So
my personal favourite moment of the game has to be when Frances was asked to name all the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and Victoria asked her what her favourite of the films, or how many of them she'd seen, and she said none of them. I don't know why Victoria was surprised to find out that she knew all the titles but hadn't seen them when she's been hanging around quizzes for the past 12 years.
It's what we do. We learn stuff. We don't necessarily watch it or read it or experience it.
Who has time to watch a film when there is Wikipedia to read? I mean, come on.
I mean, to be fair, I watched one of them, and that was enough. It's just I had no more time for
won't argue with you now. If Johnny Depp's watching, I'm not sorry either.
I could read 20 plots on Wikipedia in the time it takes to watch one film.
Thank you. Yes.
I mean, effective use of time there, Thomas. I mean, who
Not
needs
that I do
enjoyment?
either, but
I'd say I'm just looking at other questions. I thought there were nice ones. The biscotti dice panini.
that was a very fun one. Yeah,
that was nice.
Until today, I didn't realise panini was plural. That's great. That's something I learned.
You clearly have not listened to enough No Such Thing as a Fish.
I have listened to plenty of Lil Nas X though, and that's better. We'll start that fight on
different but equal.
Thank you, Grace. That is correct.
Grace is saying who has time to watch film when you can rewatch ER. ER, Grace.
ER. The West Wing, we might be talking.
West Wing, indeed. Yes.
Other TV shows are available.
Michael says, more in-depth film questions about obscure plot points that aren't mentioned on Wikipedia. There's the purist talking. He wants to go deep and specific into that stuff. And you know,
this is the same Michael who years ago at a quiz final named all 9 American Pie films in order.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Including the direct-to-DVD ones.
Yeah, that allowed him to beat my team, Dave, didn't it? So
you've got revenge scenes, Gareth. Be quiet.
we've had a little. There were a few things. There were a few things that were just kind of straight general knowledge. The Secretaries of State one was pretty straight off.
John Kerry was always going to be. Yeah.
Questions that I would absolutely hate because I just anything with a number I don't get my head into. So the one handball 1.166 hurling. Oh Lord! I mean,
I haven't quite gotten there by the end. I thought it might have been if a game is tied, how much longer compared to the real game is the final game.
I was going through the number of players on the team divided by something else.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it's even worse when it's just when they just put a number on its own, and I just have no clue.
No reference, yeah.
But, okay, so it was a really, really strong episode of Only Connect. Fantastic episode of University Challenge. What were our champagne moments of the day? What were the absolute highlights that kind of set your tongue tingling with excitement?
Oh, for me, it has to be that Emmanuel Cambridge buzz on David Copperfield off of essentially no clues.
Yeah.
There's your man.
Yeah, that was Nicole Pullinger, wasn't it? Absolutely brilliant buzz. But Thomas, is that a Quiz Bowl thing? Because in Quiz Bowl there are a lot of questions. In one chapter, a character wears a badge, and is that the sort of thing that you'll nail from Quiz Bowl, or was she just really knowledgeable on Dickens?
Well, that started like the first part of a clue that would come up in Quiz Bowl, but all that was said at that point was this Dickens character went to school and had a sign that says Buzz.
It was phenomenal.
At that point, I don't think you would get that from just Quiz Bowl. That has to be deep knowledge of the novel itself. I'll be honest, looking at both of those teams, I didn't see anyone who is a regular Quiz Bowl player. Certainly no one I've seen at tournament type stuff. Perhaps the Emmanuel Cambridge team have been doing the Cambridge Intercollegiate Quiz. I'm not too plugged into that society, but honestly, it was quite refreshing to see two teams that I knew nothing about really having at it in a closely fought game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that was just brilliant. Even if she'd got it from Quiz Bowl and perhaps not, it was so fast, such quick reactions. It was superb. Ronny, how about you?
I think just the moment I liked was the one we've referenced already with the wildlife is getting the Roman Emperor question, because it's not it's a question I'd have expected the golfers to take instantly, but a team without an obvious quizzing background getting it is great, and also getting it for 2 points, staying almost close to level with them is like, okay, no, this is actually going to be a game. This is not just going to be a complete walkover. I think we've talked a lot about the golfers, I mean, because we know the golfers, but the wildlife is absolutely, as we said, they did fantastically, and I think they could be threats later on after the repechage thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing them back on the screen.
Brilliant.
It's going to be great.
Thanks, Ronny. I know you have to dash, but thank you very much for coming on.
Live long, prosper, etc., etc. See you all later.
Cheers. Dave, how about you? What was your kind of champagne moment?
Not so much a performance champagne moment. It's just the expansion of the canon for me. I mean, I'm big on writing things that you don't expect to come up. So the inclusion of something like RuPaul's Drag Race on University Challenges. I mean, I know we talked about it earlier. I will openly say I've never seen it, but the fact that it's made its way into what is the most canon quiz on telly is it's refreshing. It's good that things have changed.
It is. Gerard is throwing in proper knowledge is recognising "Honey to the Bee" by Billy Piper, which is a tune. And as Grace said, she'd forgotten she did music and wasn't just Rose Tyler. No, that is very much true. My champagne moment was the Captain Phillips discussion, just because it was such good teamwork, and not because they suggested Captain Tom, which was very amusing. But I just loved the way the team came together, threw stuff out, and it just sparked inspiration. I thought that was just really, really good play, really, really good quizzing. And I think good quizzers recognise that quality of team quizzing. So that Absolutely. For me was the highlight.
And I find the best bonus conferring just takes you on an adventure.
Indeed.
If when they do some more musicals, if they do play Hasadiga Ibawai, then I will literally eat my hat.
That will never make it on to a polite quiz. And if you want to know why, look up the script for the Book of Mormon, and you will realise that could never be asked about.
You didn't say that before.
Just give it a bit of time. You never know.
Well, exactly.
If they move University Challenge post Watershed, then
there should be University Challenge late.
After dark.
Yeah, University Challenge After Dark, where all the subject matter is just a bit more risque.
And you have to make down the beer before you get on. Brilliant.
What's his name? Tristan Cole. He would be writing all the literature questions for that.
That is a niche reference.
It is a little bit of a niche reference. Tristan Cole has been on University Challenge and Only Connect, but he has written Quiz Bowl style questions that, let's face, plumb some of the more obscene areas of the literature canon, and let's leave it at that. But he does it very well.
Rob Hammer will be upset that he's no longer the
Crown Prince of Smut.
Go-to guy for a.
Well, if any BBC producers are watching, you know that idea for University Challenge After Dark is available to license, and we can consult on that for a fee. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much to Ronny, who's gone, to Dave for coming back, and Thomas for coming back. It's brilliant to have you both there. It's been very enjoyable hour talking about some absolutely superb quizzing. And I just want to do a very, very quick recap on the presentation, just to recap how people can vote. It's not there anymore, so we can't. So I'll just say, if you want to vote in the What is the Question competition, go to tinyurl.com/WITQ-silver. Don't forget, you can still nominate people for Quiz of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week until Thursday evening, and that's at tinyurl.com/ATQ-nominations. And look out for videos that are coming up in the course of this week. And if you haven't subscribed already, press that little button. Press that little button. Make me very, very happy. It's just below. It costs you nothing. Press subscribe. Face it, if you've got an hour into this program and you're still watching, press that button. Anyway, I will just say once again, thanks to Ronny, Dave, Thomas. Thanks to everybody who's watched, chucked comments into the comment stream. Sorry we couldn't bring everything onto the stream, but there's been some great comments. Thanks so much, and we will see you all again in the future. Good night, everybody.
See you later.
Good night, everyone. Thanks, Gareth.